Great. Thank you so much, Sam. One, thanks for everyone being here. We really appreciate your support of Sunbelt men's and women's basketball. So we had a women's basketball media day yesterday, and now we're into our men's basketball. Really excited for the season. We're starting a new agreement with Pensacola to host our championship, both men's and women's basketball championship. It's a new 5-year agreement. Pensacola's been a great partner and a great community for us. Our fans love being there. The games have been really great. We're up 15% year over year on attendance. And so we really have grown this tournament with Pensacola. And so we're really excited to extend that partnership with them. And then also, it's going to be a really exciting year of basketball. I was fortunate enough to be in Atlanta last week for our award ceremony. And we honored Peyton McDaniel, women's basketball player from James Madison, as the student athlete of the year from last year. And she's back. And it's great, particularly in this environment, when you can bring back one of your star players, player of the year, student athlete of the year, MVP of our tournament a few years back. So just really excited to see her play and all the women's basketball as well. And I'm going to be the chair of the men's basketball committee this year, which is great for the Sun Belt, great visibility. And I'm really excited for that opportunity. So we have our first in-person meeting next week in Indianapolis to really kind of get that process started and kick off the basketball season from a selection standpoint. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
We'll open now for questions. Again, for our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Commissioner. With the whole NIT non-invitation with South Alabama last year, what kind of steps are in place to make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I think, my conversations with Dan Gavitt, I think that was it's an unfortunate set of circumstances. So one, I think that we're going to make sure that process goes a little slower. I'm not involved in the NIT selection process, so I'm not really kind of privy to that. But I certainly know part of the issue was, Dan and I being at dinner together was one of the reasons that accelerated so fast. So obviously trying to slow that process down, make sure that they know that a team that they think isn't going to come, kind of confirming that. So I think the NCAA's response has been really a really solid response. I think South has certainly been really kind of understanding and certainly accepting of, kind of the NCAA's approach. So I certainly feel good about that outcome going forward. I don't feel good about what happens, but I do think that the NCAA has taken some steps to make sure that is less likely to happen again.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Shane Metlin.
Hey, Keith. Obviously, there's a lot of talk here recently about potentially expanding the NCAA tournament field. I guess from both your views as a mid-major commissioner and as head of the committee, what are your kind of thoughts, generally speaking, about expanding the field? Do you think it would be good for a conference like the Sun Belt? And are there any things that maybe make those additional slots more accessible to mid-majors, particularly regular season champions, as opposed to just going to a power conference school maybe that doesn't even have a winning record in their conference?
Yeah, so I think, as the commissioner of the Sun Belt, I think as a general rule, expanding the NCAA tournament is a good thing. Now, I do think the devil's in the details, right? That goes back to some of the things that you talked about. So I think as the Sun Belt commissioner, I would say, hey, more spots in the NCAA tournament is better for the Sun Belt Conference because it gives us more opportunities to get in at large in that regard. I think as the chair of the NCAA basketball committee, I would say, we've got a lot of things to evaluate, in terms of, there is this kind of concept of, hey, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? And the NCAA men's basketball tournament is the best postseason in sports, and so we do have a responsibility to make sure that we're making choices that enhances that postseason, not do anything that is detrimental to it. So I think that's really important. So I think that what I would say is the committee is really trying to do its due diligence to understand what the impacts are, to make sure that if the tournament is expanded, that the quality of the tournament doesn't change, that the experience for those in the tournament doesn't change. And that's a challenge. And so we're going through that due diligence. So I would say from a men's basketball committee standpoint, it's kind of hard to see. It's hard to know exactly where it's going to go, right? Because we've got both sides to look at. And I think there's a lot of quality information on both sides to give a compelling case as to why either you shouldn't expand or that you should. And it'll be interesting to see where we come out. I think from a Sun Belt commissioner standpoint, I do think, more opportunities is better, but I do think the devil's the details. And so, like, I would support expansion depending on the circumstances for expansion, right? All expansion is not good expansion. And I think that that's the same, kind of perspective that we would have as a conference.
Let's take our next
Thank
question
you.
from David Teal.
Keith, on the expansion front, how much of it hinges on whether the NCAA's television partners are willing to pony up and make sure the value of a unit is equal or enhanced with expansion?
Yeah, I think the finances are important. No matter what chair you sit in, how you evaluate it, you want to make sure that you can pay for it. We certainly are in a part of intercollegiate athletics where we are on the hunt for more revenue. And so if there's more revenue opportunities, I think that that's important. So I do think it's critical that the finances, math out the way that they need to make sure that it is advantageous from a resource standpoint. So David, I think that's a great question. I think the finances are absolutely critical to the decision making.
And then after your seasons on the committee and observing how teams on the bubble are evaluated, strength of schedule and such, have you given any advice to your member schools about how they might schedule in the non-conference to better enhance the Sun Belt's opportunities to get an at-large?
Yeah, so my advice to our coaches and our schools is schedule the hardest schedule you can put together where you can win 70 to 75% of your games. At the end of the day, we need all of our schools coming out of non-conference with a winning record, because in some ways the net is a flywheel once you get into conference play. It's almost baked into the sauce. So you've got to make your hay in the non-conference. And so that's the scheduling advice that I certainly have given our basketball coaches, which is, hey, schedule the hardest schedule you can play where you can win 75% of your games.
Let's go to the other David. David, you're on mute.
I sure am on mute. Hey, Keith, it's David Hall with the Virginia Pilot. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. I do that all the time. So it's nice to know that others have the same problems I have with video conference technology.
It's part of the new way. You had the availability reports. You've had them for football this season. Might that be something that goes into other sports like basketball? And also, how important was it to the Sun Belt to be proactive with that sort of information instead of the old ways of finding out that stuff in the shadows? Thanks.
Yeah, so no, that's a great question. And we've already begun that conversation with availability reports in other sports, right? So, and I don't know that from a Sun Belt standpoint, that's something that necessarily will happen in this season, but I certainly think we're not far from when that will be happening in other sports. And we're having that kind of conversation right now is the best way to do it and how to activate it. The great thing about starting with football is it is kind of simple. You play once a week. And so you can kind of manage it that way, where basketball's the rhythm is a little more challenging because you're playing multiple games in a week and you're trying to figure out how to make that work. So we're working through that process right now, and hopefully we'll have some good answers as we move into our spring meetings as we prepare for next season. I think in terms of the data, I think it just really helps. I think one of the, there's so many kind of unfortunate things with kind of this explosion of gambling. And one of those is the harassment of our students and student athletes. And that really is a problem. So trying to at least take one pressure point off of them in terms of either their friends or people they don't know, asking them who's playing tonight and who's hurt or who might be hurt. And some of those things I think is easy, and making sure that that's a level playing field. So I think being able to kind of eliminate one of the variabilities that can smack into the integrity of all these processes and how they intersect, I think is a good thing. And the more information we can bring into the sunshine, the better, making sure everybody has it at the same time and can use it in ways that are similar. So I think it's a really good process. I think it's one more thing that takes pressure off of our students, which is good. And yeah, I definitely see us kind of rolling out some other sports in the future.
David Hall, do you have a follow-up there? All right, let's go over to David Teal.
Keith, along the gambling front, with the preponderance of betting, sports betting, a wise move to lift the ban on athletes, college athletes betting on professional sports?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I just think it's so nuanced, right? And I think in our world, we don't everything's black and white, and we don't always get into the nuance and the details. And so what I would say is, I do think the way our gambling rules are enforced and written right now, there are a lot of student athletes who aren't doing things that we find egregious, or that the rule is, whether it's daily fantasy, sports, and some of these things that maybe aren't kind of as intense as some of the other gambling, that are getting caught up in these rules in ways that I would say don't seem like they should apply, where it's almost excessive discretion. And so I think for me, I do think there's some administrative change that's really important, because I don't think you want to have people banned for life in terms of their eligibility for some of these transgressions that actually don't really even impact the integrity of their specific sports in college. That being said, though, I also think that trying to use our rules as education to try to help people make better choices is also a good thing as well. And so, David, to be honest with you, I'm kind of split down the middle. I mean, I think it makes sense administratively, because I don't want students to lose or have permanent eligibility based on playing a daily fantasy game or some sort of thing that wasn't contemplated at the time we created that legislation. But I also think we need to send messages that, hey, these aren't good habits. You shouldn't develop them early. They really are ruining a lot of families and lives and those kind of things. And we want kids to make better choices. And so I think, more than one thing can be true. And I think I kind of sit on the fence in terms of, I think it makes sense administratively, but I also want to make sure that we're sending the right message to say, hey, stay out of this world. It is not good for you in the long term. And no one wins but the house.
Got time for one more question. Let's take this one from Matthew Eisenberg.
Good morning, Commissioner. To piggyback on the scheduling question from earlier in the week, the Illinois State coach talked about the difficulties of mid-major scheduling, high majors who really only want quad 1 and quad 4 games to protect their schedule. Is that something you're concerned about moving forward with teams of not willing to play teams at the Sun Belt level?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think scheduling continues to be more of a challenge. That's why, we spent some time, maybe 18 months ago trying to build an MTE with conferences with and kind of getting some of their best teams and to play. And we weren't able to get that fully off the ground, but we're kind of dabbling in some other ways in the MTE space that are a little maybe kind of less team intensive. So yes, we are currently looking for ways to play better games. That's why the MAC Sun Belt Challenge is so important for us. That allows our best teams to get good games. And I would also add to your question, and good home games, because it's hard to find good games, but it's also hard to find good home games. And that's why, we're exploring whether or not we should move from an 18-game schedule to a 20-game schedule. I don't know that we will do that, but part of it is about, how do you get more good games? How do you get more home games? And so I think your question is right on point. We are certainly struggling with that. We're certainly trying to identify ways to mitigate some of that, but But yeah, it really is a problem for us to try to schedule the games that are best for us to build the best resume to get an at-large selection.
Thank you, Commissioner Gill. We appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Thanks, and thanks to all of you for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, we're excited to, open the season here in less than 2 weeks. I think that it'll be another exciting Sun Belt, conference play as we've always have really 14 dogs fighting for one bone, and it's always a very ultra competitive conference with a lot of great players and a lot of great coaches.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Shane Metlin.
Hey, Dustin. In this day and age when it's kind of difficult to have a roster of players maybe that really well over the course of a lot of years, I look at your staff and it looks like you've got guys that you've either been with for a long time or you add Tim to the staff. I know you guys have the Wofford connection and everything. Is that kind of increasing in importance as you kind of put together a coaching staff to just have people that you really know, really trust, and have that longer, deeper connection with, if you maybe can't have it as much with the players anymore?
Yeah, Shane, I think that's it's a great question. And, we've been fortunate. I think I've got a lot of quality coaches. I think I've got a lot of future Division I head coaches on my staff. I just think that the coaching profession is really ultra competitive, to quote, move up. I also think that our administration has done a really good job of, investing in our coaching staff and investing in people to really make it to where, to go run your own program or to maybe coach at the Power 4, level is maybe the quote next move. But certainly we've got, the continuity that we've been able to have as a staff is certainly very important. And I want those guys to move up and run their own program one day, but certainly, I think that the alignment with staff and, the continuity of coaching and with the staff and is very critical today.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Coach Kerns, you're now 2 years removed from a regular season title in this league. You had a 5-year player like CJ Huntley in your program who's now, starting to make some ground, playing preseason in the NBA. You're going to have a different type of team where you're not going to have maybe a 5-year player in your program, but what has kind of been different about this preseason versus maybe previous preseasons where you have guys that have been staples in the program for years and now you're, meshing some of these new guys that have been a few places, but also maybe players that are still a year or so in the program?
Yeah, I think as we all navigate this new, era of college athletics, there's going to be years where we're going to be able to have some continuity. This year, we're able to retain a really good core group. I think that, all teams at all levels go through, I was reading that Baylor's got 13 new players. I think that it happens at all levels and all, teams at times. But, certainly someone like CJ Huntley, we're proud of that, stayed here for 5 years and is, on the opening night roster with the Phoenix Suns tonight, has certainly been really, valuable for our program, that you can do it from the Sun Belt, that you can do it by staying. And, talking with over 20 NBA teams about him, I think it was very interesting, the fact that a lot of NBA teams commented about how it's less work for them, that they really only had to call one coach and one strength coach and one trainer, and how they really enjoyed and kind of thought that CJ was different in a good way, that certainly he stayed at the same program and can do it from the Sun Belt. And so I think that was a really positive news for those type of stories. And so, I think that, certainly as we all continue to, certainly navigate this new era of college athletics, there's going to be some seasons we're going to have a bunch of new players. There's going to be some seasons maybe we just have a few. I think that we all have to just, certainly continue to adjust and, stay true to our core values.
Any final questions for Coach Kerns? All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks. Go Mountaineers, take the stairs.
Yeah, one, it's an honor to be the head coach here at Arkansas State. Really excited. We put together an entire new roster of 15 new players, and excited about the character and human beings that we were able to put together in the short amount of time. From getting hired was a complete whirlwind of putting together a whole new roster, a whole new technical staff, and really pleased with the character of the people that we got and the effort level that they're giving us. Obviously, blending 15 new people together in an entire new system and different way of playing, especially offensively from where they all come from, has been a lot of what our summer work has been focused on in our fall work.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Pannone, you're inheriting a program that reached the conference championship game in this league the last 2 years, 20 plus wins each of the last 2 years. And even with, all these new players that are on your team, you were able to, there's still a lot of respect, as you can see in the preseason poll with first place votes and things like that, preseason polls being what they are. But what do you feel that does that change any sense of you for the way you felt you recruited this team, assembled this team, and maybe some of the notoriety that some people are starting to recognize with your efforts in doing so?
No, I mean, one, it's obviously an ultimate compliment of our peers that voted us to be second in the league. As we all know, preseason rankings don't matter. We've got 15 guys that have never played a live game together. And so how it pans out, we're not really sure. But, I mean, that's an ultimate compliment of, one, who our players are, two, the recruiting effort that our staff put together in a very short amount of time. And they worked tirelessly to build this roster and to get out and recruit us really good human beings that also happen to be really talented athletes. I like the upside of our team. I think, like every coach here, there's multiple things that we have to fix and really get ready and continue to build that synergy playing against someone else of an entire new roster.
Let's go over to Billy Mangum.
Hey, Coach. Kind of similar to that question. Looking at your staff, I think that's one of the most, undervalued parts of building a team is when you really have to have those core elements of what coaches you're bringing in and where you find them. So I was just curious if you could talk a little bit about that process and how you found the staff that you have today.
Yeah, I've got a good blend of people that I've known for a really long time and people I didn't know at all. Obviously Coach Hodson came from Alabama. He was there before I was hired at Alabama, but I had a pretty good relationship with Coach Hodson, and he's been really good to me in this transition and trying to help to make sure that our team is successful. And so right when I got the job, if anyone knows Coach, I got the job, I got a text and it said, hire Hayden Sowers from South Plains. Don't screw this up. That was it. And so I didn't know Hayden at all. I know some coaches feel like that you hire people that based off loyalty. To me, I've been hired multiple times by head coaches that didn't know me at all. And loyalty is a character trait. You're either a loyal person or you're not. And obviously that can be strength through bond and experience and time. But Hayden had a really good reputation. Brian recommended him, to me. And then I got a chance to call around and spoke to people, and everyone said the same thing about him, that he's a remarkable human being, grinder, worker. He's worked his way up to become the head coach at South Plains, went to an Elite Eight and a Final Four, was coach of the year, and had a really good feel of the junior college environment. So I spent some time coaching junior college. One thing I really wanted on our staff was someone that knew the JUCO level well. And, his entire career from being at Ole Miss with AK to being at Pearl River to being an assistant at South Plains to being the head coach, he really worked his way up to the business. And it turned out I knew a lot of people that knew him, and they all spoke very highly of him. Then we hired Rashad Richardson, who was an assistant at Southern. Rashad actually played for me when I was a high school coach and lived with my wife and I. My wife and I got married. We came off our honeymoon. he was actually living in our apartment before we were. And so Rashad played for me and then played for Ron Hunter at Georgia State, and had worked for him, then was at Southern. Then we hired Jordan Fair, who also happened to play for me when I was a high school coach and then was my assistant. Then he took over at Oldsmar Christian and took them to a whole nother level. They were a top 15 program, just did a much better job there than I did. And on to work Rick Pitino, coach. We hired Dean Cooper, that spent 22 years in the NBA as an assistant coach for he could actually work together. And he came up and did a bunch of special situation stuff with us at Alabama, Nate Oates, and Charlie's recommendation on him was actually really important in hiring. I knew he was a fantastic person, and we got him. And then Anthony Goods, that spent 5 years in the front office for the Detroit Pistons, and played at Stanford, played 11 years professionally, was kind of our technical staff. And then we brought a GA from Alabama and Max Thorpe, and we hired Zachary Hopp, that had come from Ole Miss's women's team, to be our director of analytics and strategy, and Ashton Hopp to be our director of basketball operations.
We have time for one more question. Let's take this one from Matthew Eisenberg.
Good morning, Coach. With 15 new players on the roster, I think we all understand the difficulties of on-the-court play and everyone gelling. How would you describe the off-the-court building of a culture with 15 new players and the difficulties that come with that?
I think in terms of building culture, there's a lot of great slogans. There's a lot of great ways to do it. I think there's some great coaches in our league that build really good culture. Building culture to me is good people. The number one thing that we try to look at for everything on our staff is just hiring really good people. If you want to have good culture, have good people that care about other people, that live selflessly, that have a good heart, that are constantly worried about helping others and solving issues, and are not self-consumed and selfish human beings. And that's how most of our culture has been built, is just based off that. And then trying to make sure we've got good personalities that are going to fit together. And our guys have done a really good job of gelling together and getting along off the floor. I think when it comes to building culture, you could be Nick Saban, and if you've got low character people, it ain't going to work. Doesn't matter how good you are at building it. Culture is people, and people determine your culture.
Thank you, Coach Pannone. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think first of all, just really excited about our group. I know everybody has a lot of change that's going on within their teams, but we really are excited about the guys that we have on ours. We're really excited about the guys that we're returning to. We do have some non-scholarship guys that are able to carry over the culture. We also have Rasheed Jones and Braden McVicker that, are back with us as well, who was a part of our team last year. It feels like I've coached Rasheed Jones forever, and even at the last spot I was at, and which is not always the story, but the case everywhere. But our guys are working hard. They've been here since June, and really, really starting to gel together, but it's still new, right? The popcorn hadn't started to pop, and we're really, really excited about playing someone else after all the practices and the workouts and all those things that have been going on. But it's exciting time to be a Chanticleer. I know that. Our guys know that, and more importantly, they value that, and looking forward to just building on what we did last year and getting a little bit better and moving in the right direction.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function, and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Zachary Capps.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned your returners for this year. You returned 6 guys, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but in today's day and age, it is a lot. How important has that been for to return those guys and help the transfers and the freshmen get acclimated both on the court and off the court?
Yeah, I think, we have one guy that actually got some minutes in the game. When you talk about non-scholarship guys, the thing that they do is they know how we operate. And I think when you bring in a bunch of new guys, that's coming from different programs, the terminology is always different. I thought our guys have done a great job of getting guys up to speed and getting those guys acclimated with what does a day-to-day look like here at Coastal. And like I said before, I'm excited about those returners. I'm also excited about the new guys and to see how they embrace these opportunities and the challenges that will come up throughout the year.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Coach Gray, there's one player on the roster that certainly he's been on a journey, and it was before you and now with you. That's Braden McVicker. And just if you could talk to me and tell us just a little more about his journey, his status going into this season. I know he missed all of last season, but he started before you were with the program, and now he's healthy. So what kind of element does he bring to this program that you're building?
Yeah, I think, first of all, when Braden, when we got here, he did a great job of sort of acclimating us on how things sort of work in his time before we got here. And Braden's such a good young man, a great family's great, and he wanted to be a part of Coastal. And I think that's one thing that is always really, really special when you have somebody that wants to be a part of your program, that buys into the culture of it. And we went to him last year and talked about redshirting, not vice versa, right? And he was up for it, and I thought it was good. He's put on 20 pounds of muscle. He's moving around. Obviously, his skill set is to be able to shoot the basketball and space the floor, but he's just excited to play, right? To get back out there and play against someone else. And he's been on scout team for a year, and I've been telling him all year he's been baking, right? And ding, now it's the bell has gone off, and it's time for him to get in the game. And he's looking forward to that. We'll just be, as always, the best ability is availability, right? And we'll pray that he stays healthy. He's done a great job of working at his body to be able to be prepared to play a season.
Let's go over to Billy Mangum.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned, the vast amount of newcomers that are coming back, but I was curious a little bit about, your transfers and the true freshmen that you bring in. Is there anybody that's kind of stood out in camp and somebody that, we may not know now, but should look out for in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, Joshua Beadle is a South Carolina guy. He's from Columbia. Had a couple of the stops in the ACC, but, dynamic guard, right? Quick, lightning quick, can get to the front of the rim, can make plays for others. He's somebody to be, to look out for. And for him, his last year going in it, he's set some goals both individually and as a team to be a part of something that's special and sort of make Coastal basketball really something that is gaining some respect. And so we've talked about that with him. He's looking forward to taking that challenge on. I think AJ Dantzler.
Go ahead.
I think AJ Dantzler is sort of proving himself, at his last stop, and he's looking for another opportunity, being an all-conference guy at his last university, and then coming in here and being able to score the basketball, create for others. And it's sort of the same thing through all of those guys. That's just really exciting that they want to be here. They all want to be able to be a part of something special. They always want to sort of itch their name in some kind of history here at Coastal. And it just starts with every day buying in and trying to get a little bit better each day.
Thank you, Coach Gray. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's great to be with you all. Obviously, entering year 3 here, Georgia Southern Sun Belt. It's just exciting. Excited about this year. The league is so good. And while we've lost, some continuity from roster standpoint for most all of us, there's just so many good coaches. And I think for the fans, being able to watch really good mid-major basketball and teams that do it all different ways, the variance in style, I think is a thing of beauty. So I'm really excited about, our group. I feel like we've had a great summer, a great fall. Obviously we got, a lot of new guys. We went, all different places to obviously build out our roster, but I'm excited about the shooting we have. I think it's the most shooting we've had since I've been here. I think we got versatility. There's some issues, we did some good things last year, but there's just also some, season long issues, but I think we got a team it's better equipped to, play downhill, play physical offensively, attack the rim, get to the free throw line. And obviously, been really big here these last month, 2 months of trying to, establish defensive foundation. When you look at the best teams in the Sun Belt year in, year out, you look at, the 4 teams that shared the regular season last year. All of them were at the top of the league defensively. Obviously, Coach Cross does an unbelievable job at Troy. They're always one of the best defensive teams in our league. Obviously, Ark State made a really big jump on defense and, shared the regular season. South Alabama did the same thing. And then Coach Spradlin at JMU. So, you look at Coach Kerns at App, they've had similar success in years past with just playing, championship level defense. So that's a foundational thing for us. And then obviously, offensively, we really want to share the ball and have a team of eager passers and try to, work together, learn how to play together and try to, put pressure on the defense that way. So, I'll open it up to any questions one might have.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Adam Miller.
Coach Henry, year 3, but does it feel like year 1 maybe when you bring a guy like Tyron Moore back, who, in your first season, all conference player, averaged 17 a game, I think 19 a game in conference play, spends a year away from the program, but then transfers back into the program. Just has it felt like it's continuity with him so far and how he's adapting to your team? And, what are kind of some things that maybe you've seen is he better than he was 2 years ago?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's great to have Tyron back. Obviously, he was really good for us in year 1 as he started to play really well for us in year 1. It didn't necessarily happen like right at the beginning of the season, but you especially saw it in conference play, later in the non-con, and then into conference play, just playing at a high level. We really started to play a heck of a lot better. So we're really, really excited to have him back. He's excited to be back. There's some unfinished business, obviously in year 1, I mean, it was a struggle. We weren't very good. So, my challenge to Tyron has been, let's get you back playing at the level you were at in year 1. But no one, again, no one wants to be the best player on a team that's not winning. So let's get you playing at that level, but then let's also figure out, and I think obviously our roster's, equipped to, have some guys come along with them, but let's figure out how to be a really good player on a really good team. So it does feel like continuity. Obviously, he's been through been through a season with me. Kay's our only other guy on the roster that's been through a season with me. Obviously, Dwayne joined us at the semester and sat out. So there's definitely some familiarity there.
Let's go over to Billy Mangum.
Hey, Coach. Looking at your roster and the pieces you brought in, it looks like there was a heavy emphasis on high school freshmen or no collegiate experience. 6 in total. Just curious about that and what you saw in those guys and how that kind of goes into the makeup of the program you're trying to build.
For sure. Again, not just being real honest, not all of those being scholarship guys. But obviously, a couple of those guys being walk-ons as well. But recruited guys because we think every player on our roster is really important. The type of people, competitor, athlete we're bringing in. So some of those guys have just enhanced our culture in just big time ways. So we do. I mean, we're going to try to keep signing big high school classes. There's always going to be some turnover in the spring. So, we're used to look at, how many seniors you had and then, how many you're losing and then maybe that factor into early signing decisions. We kind of think less about that now. And if we see good players that we think can help us and have a future at Georgia Southern, we try to go get them. So we are excited about our freshmen. Jaden Williams is one that I'll highlight. From Ramsey High School in Birmingham, Alabama. We think he's a really good player who's going to be I think we're going to see some immediate returns on that.
Let's go over to Matthew Eisenberg.
Good morning, Coach. You talked about the need and emphasis on improving defensively. 2 things the last 2 years that kind of have stood out have been defensive rebounding and the foul rate. How is that something you emphasize in the offseason at getting better at?
Yeah, we definitely emphasize both those things. The foul thing was really tough last year because we didn't shoot free throws great and then we didn't get the line enough. So we were really losing the foul, the free throw battle pretty much night in, night out. So defense or rebounding, I mean, the same way we try to clean up offense and defense each day, we've been made it a point like to clean up defense. Obviously, at times, lineups, like we got to be cognizant of the lineup we're putting out there and if they can rebound the ball because the Sun Belt's a very athletic, physical league. And not every line, you might like the lineup on offense or do more switching and whatnot, but it might leave you vulnerable, obviously, on the glass. Got to be disciplined, defend without fouling. I'm hoping I get a little better whistle too in year 3, just being honest. Shoot, I had a game last year where our opponent shot in conference shot 25 free throws to our 0. So I know we foul, but try to work, Tony Green, our head of officials, and maybe give him some feedback because I know we're not the only team in the league that fouls a little bit. So just being real honest on it, but it's stuff we've been really harping on and trying to get better at.
Let's take one more here from Rocco Miller. Hey, Rocco, we can't hear you.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes, we've got you now.
Okay, sorry about that. Hey, Coach Henry, good to be on with you. I look forward to seeing you.
What's up, Rocco?
Hey, what's going on? Look forward to seeing you at Jacksonville Classic this year. Excited to have you there. Year 1, you had a 2-7 record in games, either in overtime or decided by 5 or less. Last year, you went 9-5, big turnaround there, but 4 of the 5 losses were in February. We all know college basketball is extremely long. Is there anything you'll do differently as we get into the dog days of conference play based on last year's, results but basically turning around such an important stat, winning close games?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Definitely not going to stop practicing hard. I feel like my players might have put you up to asking that one, but we'll still have long practices in February. But I think the big thing, man, is when it comes to winning close games, and I know it's going to sound like coach speak, but getting stops, being connected, guys that are just all about. I mean, I'll use other teams in our league, man. I felt like those 4 teams I mentioned that were at the top of the league. You look at Coach Riley. I thought he did an unbelievable job last year. I thought his team was really connected, played together, and obviously played championship level defense. I think when you're doing that, I think you find a way to push it over the top and win those close games. So for us, it was improvement. It's obviously, again, the other thing, the analytics would tell you, you probably want to, good teams kind of impose their will over 40 minutes. But, we just had a great, really close scrimmage with Jacksonville. We're already in a tight game late. So we got to get stops. We got to rebound the ball. Obviously, foul trouble. Again, you don't want to be in a position where teams are in the double bonus at the end of the game. It punishes fouls, makes it really tough. Taking care of the ball, executing your stuff late game. Obviously, we play fast and you want to keep playing fast throughout the game, but late games, things tend to slow down. So we got to be ready to execute our stuff. But, we try to get to end of game situations very quickly in practice. Already been working on it. And I think the team that plays, really hard and together just finds a way to win those games.
Thank you, Coach Henry. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, it is 12:01, and I'm not the reason we're late. And I've been waiting down there for 15 minutes for you guys. No, I kid. Glad to be on here with you guys. Just got done with the practice, so my voice is kind of over in left field right now. But excited about our team, excited about the people we have in our locker room, and I'm ready to get this thing kicked off.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. Start off with Adam Miller.
Coach Hayes, one of your returners, Jelani Hamilton, preseason all-conference choice. But what are some of the things you've seen develop in his game, and how do you think he's going to impact your team and ultimately the conference race this season?
First, I don't put too much stock in preseason. It's good that he's thought of to that level where he can be one of the top, players in our league. But the one thing I've seen from Jelani is a level of growth mentally for him from a maturity standpoint. And I think he's grown into being a little bit more of a vocal leader. First off, I think he's more confident in his role as a college basketball player. You know, last year was his first time around the sun, actually being in position to be productive after having sat out at Iowa State. So he was, by all intents and purposes, a true freshman on the court last year. And he's the one guy on our team that never put his name in the portal. So he was bought in from the word go, and that has just, you know, led him to be a much better leader, not only just with his actions but with his words.
Let's go over to Zachary Caps.
Hey, Coach. You guys are coming off of a preseason game against Georgia, which was really, really close. What did you learn about your team in what was many of their first action at the Division I level?
Yeah, well, number one, we turned the ball way over too much, and I think we need to find a level of poise that allow us to perform under pressure late game. And turn the ball over was an issue that we had. And another thing, our shot selection, we had 12 bad shots or not so good shots, and we had 14 turnovers. That's 26 possessions. I thought that we either got a bad shot or no shot at all. And to lose by 4 points, I think that's very indicative. So we have to grow up with the basketball, and by all intents and purposes, you know, for guys, you're talking about Division I experience playing. We still have a young team, but that's no excuse. We have to find a level of maturity to be able to perform down the stretch in the moments of truth. And that takes a little intestinal fortitude to get that covered. But and we don't believe in more victory, so there's a level of progress that I need to see moving forward from our group. But we have a different, you know, bunch in our locker room that they are bought in, they're more connected, and so we're ready to move forward.
Let's go back over to Adam Miller.
Coach Hayes, in conference play last year, you guys were third in scoring, tops in field goal percentage, you know, second shooting the three, and then you're able to return a point guard like Malachi Brown, who doesn't turn the ball over quite much at all. You know, he was tops in the league in assist to turnover ratio. What is having him come back and sort of be the engine for your offense, but also on the defensive side, you know, to get this team in order and keep you guys on path in the game?
Adam, I think it's huge. We knew going into last year that Malachi was going to take some lumps, and we stuck with him, rightfully so. And I can remember telling my staff, you know, December, January last year, at some point in time, man, we're going to reap the benefits of Malachi going through this, you know, because especially being a point guard, I don't care how much people tell you what they need to do, what you need to do. There's no greater experience to being a point guard than just you got to go out and do it. And so we took some lumps last year, and he grew up a whole ton. And coming into this year, he put his name in the portal just, you know, quickly, just for a hot cup of coffee. Well, when he came back, and he's been fully bought in. And the biggest thing I see in Malachi since June the 9th is his level of confidence. He's a confident basketball player. He knows what he's doing. We don't have to reteach our terminology, reteach our offensive system, reteach what we're trying to get accomplished on the defensive end. And his maturity level has increased a great deal. And that's the one thing I'm most excited about, to see him, you know, his second time around, even though he's a junior, his second year in our program and in our system.
Thank you, Coach Hayes. Appreciate your time today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, just excited to kick off the season, going into year 2 here in the Sun Belt at JMU, and just so many great things about the league, how competitive it is, and you know, just really looking forward to seeing how half you know, has kind of restocked their roster, and how each team is going to play to kind of accommodate that, and what kind of identity the league is going to take on. And excited to get our group out there, 13 new players, and you know, take on a challenging non-conference schedule as we, you know, prepare for the conference slate.
We'll open up now for questions, and we'll start off with Shane Metlin.
Hey, Preston. You know, you've had so much roster turnover, so many new players here in the last 2 years, but you have been able to have some guys on staff that have been with you for a long time. You go back to Moorhead. I guess just how much more difficult would all that roster turnover be without guys like Don and Case and the guys who have been with you for a while?
That's a great question. We've signed 24 players in just over a calendar year since I came over here to JMU, so it's been quite exhausting. But I don't think the staff gets enough credit, and I'm so thankful for those guys that they've been with me, for a long time, and it just helps you. It helps you. It helped a lot in year one with the transition, and certainly 2 off seasons of rebuilding a roster. Those guys, we have great continuity, great synergy. We think a lot alike, and we've been able to, build rosters over the years and find new ways to play with that particular team to find success. And they've all been a part of that every single step of the way. And there's no way any of the success would be possible without them. And so, having those guys and having that continuity, that consistency amongst your staff is extremely important, and a huge reason, why we've been able to find some success, even though our teams have looked totally different.
And Keith Gill was on here earlier and was asked a lot about scheduling and doing things to boost net and stuff like that. And we've talked a lot about your schedule, but now that you kind of see where a lot of these teams are actually picked in their leagues and things like that, like, do you feel pretty good about how you were able to put it together to maybe maximize your net as much as possible, with it being difficult to get a lot of high major teams on the schedule?
Yeah, without question. We're going to play 6 teams that got sized up for a championship ring last year. Either they won the regular season or they went to the NCAA tournament, or both. And so that's going to be the bulk. That's half of our non-conference schedule. And when you come to JMU, that's just kind of what comes with the territory, right? I came here for that reason, that this is going to be one of the top mid-major programs in the country, and that's who you get the opportunity to fill your schedule with. Getting the Power Four, the high major opponents on the schedule is a very difficult task, setting from this seat and other peers like myself within our league and others. And so we end up playing each other, right? You play the Akrons of the world, you play the Towsonds, the Norfolk States, and teams like that have the respect of everyone throughout the country. And so you end up playing other really good mid-majors. But I feel really good about our program and our schedule and where we're at. We're excited about the challenges that we have. And, we're able to renew some regional and old rivalries that are important to our fan base. And just so happens that those happen to be, championship programs as well right now.
Thank you.
Let's go over to David Teal.
Coach, keeping along that theme, how did the game against Coach Cal and the Razorbacks come about?
Obviously Cal is my mentor, so incredibly thankful for him giving me an opportunity to get into coaching 17 years ago, and the entire staff over there. And so a lot of phone calls, a lot of calls to him and to the staff, a lot of throwing out dates, trying to figure out, what would work for us and obviously what would work for them with all the different, challenges that they have, that scheduling at a different challenges, scheduling within the SEC. And so thankful that, we were able to make the date work out. Obviously they've got the opportunity to play, anybody in the country. And there was a lot of suitors that wanted to go out to Fayetteville and play them on that particular date. And just thankful for the relationship and, giving us the opportunity to come out there and to do that. I don't think, had it not been for our relationship stemming for such a long time, that would have transpired.
And then just given the difficulties that mid-majors and the Sun Belt programs have in scheduling, Commissioner Gill said that the league is considering moving to a 20-game conference schedule. Thoughts?
Lots of thoughts. I'm kind of indifferent with it, right? I think my question would be, what is our goal, right? Is our goal to increase the net of the Sun Belt and up the profile of our league so to get 2 teams in. If that's our goal, I don't know that 20 games accomplishes that, right? Because I think the numbers would show you, with the ACC, they've gone from 20 back down to 18 because they were crushing their own net by playing each other more than they should be. From very hard, especially for the teams at the top of the Sun Belt. And so, if we said, hey, going 20 makes scheduling a little bit easier, then that's a positive. If it doesn't improve our net, that's a negative. So the question would just be, what's the direction? What's the target that we're trying to hit with that?
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Spradlin. Appreciate your time today.
Oh, thanks so much. Go Dukes.
Yeah, well, just excited. First year as a head coach, excited coming to a league that I consider a really good league. Although it's a mid-major league, I believe they got a lot of high major coaches in this league. Really like my team this year. It mostly filled with a bunch of transfers, got a couple freshmen, but looking forward to the challenge, looking forward to being a part of this amazing league and, elevating in the best way I can.
We'll open it up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Kevin Foote.
Coach, I know you're focused on your team right now, but as you mentioned, joining a new league, how concerned are you? And what will go into the process of kind of having to learn about these teams and how teams play and the rivalries and just everything in a new league?
Yeah, I think every day what me and my staff tries to do is, just watch different teams in this league and how they play, their playing style. And, I think the more work and time that you put into it, the more familiar you get with the way guys want to play and who's in the league, the different players that they have in the league, especially with the climate changing with the transfer portal. And so we try to do that every single day, watch a different team that's in this league. And, we've become more familiar with the league by doing just that.
Hey, Coach, it's Dawson Iserlow. I'm here with Kevin.
Hey,
just
Dawson.
wanted to ask you about the early non-conference schedule. You guys have some good games, and then you'll take that trip out to California. With so many new pieces and you getting to start, what do you make of the opportunity you guys have in the first month?
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. We get to go out to California, I think, and play Stanford, UC Davis, Santa Clara, who I think is going to be really good. It's a huge opportunity for my staff and the players. And I think that just gets you ready, and that was kind of my thought process with our scheduling as a whole from a non-conference standpoint is to get us ready. Our first game is on the road at Ball State. I think that just helps us and prepares us for the Sun Belt Conference. And so anything that can put us in the best position to be in position and be ready to do what our goals are, I think, you try and do that. And so I like our non-conference schedule. I like our opponents.
Confidence going into a brand new situation with all this newness in a new league that defense should travel and be a constant for you.
Yeah, Kevin, I think, again, it all starts in recruitment. I like the guys that we brought in, the transfers, and as well as the freshmen that we signed, and that's where the confidence starts. I like the players that we've recruited. But defense does travel, and I'm big on defending, and our guys have a great understanding. If that's not what you're doing, then it's going to be very hard for you to be out there on the floor. And so, experience is the best teacher, and these guys have been learning the system that I've been implementing, and they've been receptive to the teaching. And, it's just one day at a time. Continue to progress and move forward and get better each and every day.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Coach White, it's your first preseason as a head coach at the Division I level. You played in the Final Four, you've coached in Final Fours. What What's different about being maybe the role that you have? Has there been any kind of experience that's maybe been a little different this time around versus any of your other stops as a player and as an assistant coach?
Great question. Absolutely. I mean, when you slide 6 inches over, you are in charge of everything, not just at Houston in that 2-lane Western Kentucky, all the stops that I've made. I've been an assistant coach and was in charge of at Houston the guards, right? Well, now you're in charge of the entire team, so and your staff, and so. Has it been challenging? Yes, but I've also been prepared. I've had some great mentors throughout my college career, from a player standpoint, and from an assistant coaching standpoint. And so I give a lot of credit to the guys that I've worked for, in develop me and instilling in me, everything that they did, and it's prepared me for this moment. So it's been a joy, being in this position and trying to instill some of the same things in my staff that, all my mentors and coaches did for me.
Thank you, Coach White. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Go Cajuns.
Sure. Hey, guys, glad to be here today. Excited about the opportunity. We're, about a week and a half away from playing our first game, and just ready to get going, ready to play against somebody else. We've had a good preseason, not a great one, because we've had some injuries that affect us. I don't want to be that guy who makes excuses. I don't ever want to be that guy, but we've had some serious injuries. We lost our starting center, Brente Noel, to an ACL. Unfortunately, he's out for the year. I hate that for him. And then we had another young man, Lavelle Brodnex, another one of our most experienced players, had a meniscus surgery last week, out 4 to 6 weeks. So, those injuries have affected us. They've slowed us down. We're not where we need to be at this point, but we like our team. Now it's all about roster construction now. And what we did is, we want to establish it from a recruiting standpoint. We want to get character and talent in there. And I feel like we did that. Now, the problem with our talent is it's inexperienced and it's unproven. And losing Brente for the year and Lavelle for 4 to 6 weeks, they're two of our most experienced guys, and it's affected that. So we're a little behind schedule in where we need to be. But I think this team will be a team that just gets better every single day because we're so young and inexperienced. But again, I like our talent, love our character, where we are with in that sense. But it's going to be a process, and our schedule is a really challenging one right off the bat. But our guys are excited to get going.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function, and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Cunningham, this is your second rodeo in the Sun Belt. You ran a successful program at Troy where, you were able to win a championship. And now, you're tasked with rebuilding another program in another school in the league. A lot of things have changed during those times, but what's been something that's been something similar? And are there certain elements of your program building philosophy that's been the same this time around?
Well, the similarities in the league that it's just still one of the best mid-major leagues in the country, because if you go, we're kind of in the similar footprint to the SEC, and if you go all the way from Texas all the way to the Carolinas, and you go get 1 to 2 of the best mid-major teams in each state, man, you've really got a quality league and outstanding coaches. The players are kind of, in some sense, they're unknown, but I think that's just part of college basketball now. Because the way the transfer portal has affected every level, particularly this level. But again, it's just a quality league where there's no easy wins anywhere on your schedule in league play. And back to your question of the similarities, I wanted to build a program. The way we build it here is through recruiting. It's all about recruiting. And everybody has to have a model right now. I don't know which one's right in this era. And the model we went with, we tried to mix some experienced guys with some young talented guys that are unproven, and try to mesh that together. And so back to your question, I think we've done that. I think we've got talent. I think we've got character. And now we'll see, trying to put it all together, minus a couple of guys, in particular Brente, but hopefully Lavelle will be back soon because he'll add so much to our team.
Let's go over to Billy Mangum.
Hey, Coach. Just looking through your roster and looking at a couple of the key guys that you brought in. Was just curious your thoughts and your projections on MJ Russell and what he can add to the front court.
Billy, MJ is a very talented player. He was the 5A player of the year in Alabama. He went to Mississippi State. And what happened over there, they had a really good guard named Josh Hubbard. They just kind of repeatedly brought in older transfer guards to play with Josh. And MJ never really got a chance to get going. So our challenge with him, he hadn't played in 3 years. He got in a little bit here and there, but wasn't a part of the rotation at all in those 3 years. So that talent, that athleticism is still there. He's one of the most athletic guards in the league. Now we've got to bring him back from a mental state, from just a playing state. We've got to get him back to where he was in high school, albeit it's at a different level now. But he's got a chance to be really, really special for us. He's like, again, he's so athletic. He's in the gym all the time working on his game. He just hasn't played. And now he's going to play. He's going to be a major part of it. And again, I think as the year progresses, you're going to see a lot of good things out of MJ.
Yeah, we're excited. Year two, we lost a lot, but we added, in my opinion, some really good pieces to our program. It's been fun. Up until this point, we had an exhibition game last night, but it's been really fun, trying to get these guys to mesh. We have, out of our 15 players, we have 8 newcomers. So several guys with experience, but only 2 at the Division I level. So it's been a challenge, but it's also been fun, and we couldn't be more excited to kick off the year.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function, and we'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Adam Milton.
Coach Corny, year two for you guys, and you running this program. You went through a really interesting first season where it really felt like your team peaked as the season moved into Pensacola and the conference tournament. Now you have, as you mentioned, a lot of different players. What are going to be some of the things that you're going to need or to get this team sort of going and getting to that same level of basketball once you get to March?
Well, Adam, it's going to be a process. I told some media folks last night, if I had the magic wand, if I can snap my fingers and get these guys playing championship basketball now, I would. But with so many new faces, I mean, we lost Obina, who was the defensive player of the year. He was in the program for 5 years. Nate Martin was in the program for a few years. We lost to Zane Mingo. So we returned really Jalen Spear, who started 31 games. Wyatt Fricks is another young man who's been in the program 5 years, but he's only started 3 games last year. So we have some big holes to fill, but at the same time, the guys that we brought in, we feel pretty good about them and confident in their abilities. It's just a matter of getting them more and more familiar with the way we play offensively and defensively.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Adam.
And then, Coach, you added, a player like Matt Van Komen, a 7'4" player, and post play, having an advantage like that in this conference. How do you see him fitting into the team? And obviously, you mentioned the loss of Obina and Matt's propensity for blocking shots. I think he was top 15 in the country last year. Just being able to have that type of advantage in the paint.
Yeah, Matt Obina was number 1 in the country last year in block shots, and Matt was 10th. At his prior school, they ran a lot of zone defense, so he was a terror inside. Once you broke through the guards. Here, we play a little different defensive scheme, but again, you can't teach 7'4". Matt has grown. One thing he's done, he's grown offensively since he's been here. I'm not sure, and I said it last night, I'm not sure if this is not the first time he's been in a position in his playing career where he's kind of outside of his comfort zone. What we're doing right now, we want Matt to be a force in the Sun Belt. So we're trying to build his mentality of being a force not only on the defensive end but on the offensive end. He's done an amazing job adjusting. Obviously, he still has to learn just some minor details on how we do things. But again, couldn't be more proud of Matt. We're trying to make him a force offensively. Defensively, 7'4". He has good timing. Obviously, he has length. So he's good in that aspect. But offensively, we want to bring out a little more in him.
Let's go over to Billy Mangum.
Hey, Coach. Looking at your schedule, it looks like you've got a couple key pieces there, including, the road matchup with Virginia. Just curious, going into year two, leading the herd, what were some things that you kind of learned last year, going through the Sun Belt and, really analyzing the physicality of the league and how that kind of went into scheduling the season this year?
Yeah, the Sun Belt, is obviously a super physical league. That's one of the things that me and my staff were harping on with the new guys, even, with a Matt or a Wilson Dubinsky. Those guys have played at Division I level before, but we're reminding our guys daily of how physical the league is. I guess analyzing after my first year as a head coach, the Sun Belt is a really good basketball league. It has some high level coaches, high level players. There's no nights off. You have to bring it. You have to bring it every night. So what we wanted to do in scheduling was we wanted to play a tough non-conference schedule to prepare us for the Sun Belt conference schedule. We have Virginia at Virginia. We play Wilmington, who won their conference last year. We play them at Wilmington. We play Western Kentucky here. We play Wright State here. We play Ohio at Ohio. UMass to kick off the year. So again, those are all well-coached, physical teams that we look forward to playing and obviously ultimately helping us prepare for Sun Belt Conference.
Let's take our next question from Matthew Eisenberg.
Hello, Coach. 6 one-possession losses last year, 2 more by 5 points, or 8 total by 5 points or less. Over the summer, did you emphasize maybe mental side of things, or were there physical on-court things that maybe you saw as difference makers in so many close games last season?
Well, learning our team, one, once I felt we gelled because we learned each other. Last year we had 9 new faces, but we were able to return Nate and Obina, who were kind of our anchors, right? And learning our team and learning where to go as a coach. I thought, we got better as a team. I thought I got better as a coach. One game that I remember here against Troy, I believe. Yeah, it was against Troy, late in the game. That was probably on me because they switched defenses and I probably should have called timeout and recognized it. But again, it was a learning process for us all. At Southern Miss, we ran a baseline out of bounds play. We got the shot we wanted. We just couldn't convert it. So we had several games like that. I felt that as our guys got more comfortable, and I got more comfortable in where to go at the end of games, I felt we got better.
Thank you, Coach Jackson. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
Yes, sir. So incredibly excited about this year. Incredibly excited about Sunbelt basketball. I thought did a really good job of retaining as many players as we possibly could from last year's roster. And I did think we had a really good offseason in the portal. So we're very excited about our season upcoming. Appreciative of Robert Davis Jr. and Jordan Battle being recognized by the other coaches in the league for, what we hope is a tremendous season here in Norfolk.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Brian Smith.
Coach, good afternoon. 2-part question. One, how have you adjusted as a new head coach from year 1 to year 2? And then also, I noticed you're 5th in the Sun Belt, up from 8th to 5th. What does that say about your program right now and what you've done just in that 1 year?
The adjustment, honestly, I feel like we've been working since March 1st when we got hired, and there has not been a break. So we're just plugging along. I do feel like the staff that we were able to assemble going into last season and the continuity we have with keeping everyone together except for one GA, Jason Wade, allows us to be way more familiar with one another. The great thing about this year is everything was new a year ago, and none of these guys had played for me before. And now we have 9 guys that were on the team last year returning. So excited about that. The bump from 8 to 5 in the preseason rankings. I mean, we last year we finished 10th. We were tied for 8th or whatever, but I'm hoping that, obviously the opinion of our program is that we've gotten better, but ultimately in this league, we're all trying to fight to be able to be the representative in March Madness. So, 5th isn't good enough to do that.
Let's go over to David Teal.
Mike, in an era of athlete compensation, retaining 9 players is quite unusual. How did you do it?
Well, I think our community here, a huge assist from them. I think these guys truly love playing here. We do feel like we have a tremendous program and a historically good program, one, but two, our fan base and the facilities we have and the support we get from our administration. That's all, sometimes coaches speak, but I think we're 3 for 3 in those areas, and our young men truly enjoy playing here. Robert Davis Jr. Having all the opportunities he had, Big Kyle having all the opportunities he had, Steph Walker having all the opportunities he had to go elsewhere, but them choosing to stay here says a lot about our program and our community.
And then how intentional or unintentional was your non-conference schedule to end up with so few home games and some very challenging road tests?
I mean, intentional in the truest sense of the word, in part that we had to do that, in order to, with the new rev share model and things like that. I mean, we're not ashamed of saying, like, hey, some of the money that we're getting for playing these games on the road helped us to have the roster we have. So, very intentional with that. And keeping in mind that in a year, some of those teams are coming here to Norfolk to play us.
Right.
So, it's a two-edged sword or a two-edged benefit, just depending upon how you look at it. I decide to look at it in the most positive way possible.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Shane Metlin.
Yeah, Mike, another scheduling type of question. But ODU's traditionally been able to play in some pretty high level MTEs, maybe more than a lot of the other Sun Belt schools have been involved in. Like, how about for your program? Is that you to go out and seek? Are you getting invitations like unprompted, or how does that end up happening for ODU?
It goes a little bit of both. I do know that we were approached by multiple different places to play. I do think, the way college basketball is going now, the MTEs are kind of going to be dying off. And, just with scheduling and strategically scheduling, a lot of those opportunities are, probably will be more opportunities for us because some of the bigger schools will not choose to play in MTEs. But, it's going to be a year-to-year thing. We want to have the best schedule possible. We want to have a schedule that's attractive. But we also know that, we're serving a lot of different purposes with our schedule. And we're going to do the best job we can with that each and every year.
Let's go back to Brian Smith.
Another two-parter. I guess one, talk about, Norfolk State is right around the corner. Do you or your players get that feeling, oh man, it's about to go down in this case, or how happy are you and your guys about this date coming up right now?
Extremely excited about the game, but there's so much basketball to be played before then. No offense to Norfolk State, but they're definitely not on our radar right now. We're worried about Miami of Ohio, and they have our full attention. So
the other is too, have you found out an identity with this team right now?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I find is we're much older than we were a year ago. Last year we had 7 freshmen. This year we have 2. Last year we had 2 seniors that played. This year we'll have 5. So we got a lot older, and with that comes a higher level of IQ, a higher level of experience, obviously. And so we're an older team that is excited to play together. Our trip to Costa Rica truly helped us come together as a team, and we got to see potentially how good we can be.
Thank you, Coach Jones. Appreciate your time today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Go Monarchs.
Excited about the year. I say it every year. Our league is as good a mid-major league as there is in the country. I think it's the toughest one-bid league in the country, 14 teams, and there's so much parity, really good coaches, really good players. And I think you see that with the preseason poll, how spread out it is. I mean, it's very unpredictable. There's a lot of turnover on all the rosters, but I think there's also a high level of respect with us as coaches amongst each other of understanding, even with turnover, that that guys do a good job and have good programs. So I'm excited about it. It's I'm obviously thrilled to be the head coach here. I love being here, love living in Mobile, and just the opportunity to start with another group. And I'm really enjoying coaching this group right now.
We'll open up now for questions from our media, and we'll start it off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Richie. You've kind of found, I don't know, magic formula with the D2 and NAIA transfers. You went back to that well this year. Just how do you feel like those guys are meshing in again?
Hey, Craig, good to see you, brother. It really well. I mean, I think part of what we've done, we started out when I first got here years ago, we kind of got a ton of Power 4, Power 5 transfers, and we were known for that. And then with the landscape of college basketball changing and NIL coming into play, and our resources versus some other people's resources in that realm, we had to be creative, and I'm glad we did, because it's really rejuvenated me as a head coach in this climate of college basketball. I think it's hard for guys right now going through all the things that we're going through, but it's rejuvenated me because I'm coaching guys that are more like me. They had to go earn everything they've got and started out as underdogs, at the NAI level or D2 level. And we spend a lot of time watching a lot of basketball, my staff and I, at all levels. And I think we've kind of carved out a niche. And not only is it evaluating talent, but it's evaluating character that fits in the culture of what we do. And these guys certainly are that. We've not played a real game yet that counts wins and losses, but I can tell you the team that we have, I'm enjoying coaching as much as, not more than any team that I've had. These guys come to work every day. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're very coachable. And I think we've upgraded in a lot of areas from last year's regular season championship team. But these guys want to be good, and they're here to prove that they belong on this level. So it's a really good mix too. I think with the mix of guys that we have, they fit well together, and I think our depth has improved as well.
You lost your top 5 scorers. Where are you hoping to get that from this year? And either new guys or guys that are already here? And, where does Maxwell Land fit in all this? How healthy is he? That sort of thing.
He's done a tremendous job of fighting through adversity. Max has torn his ACL twice. He's actually out there some in live segments now, not getting up and down quite yet. So he's got a little ways to go before he's ready to get back out there and game action. But he is progressing really nice, and I'm proud of how he's worked at it and the attitude that he's had and the positivity that he's had. I think we're like a lot of people where we lost a lot of guys. You look at our league, it was just like torn apart with either guys that performed really well and made a lot of money going to a Power 4 school, or you got hit with graduation. For us, we tried to improve our core 4 that we got back. We got John Broome back, who started every game last year. We got Randy Brady back, who started quite a few games, impacted winning. Jaden Cooper has taken another step in his game. He's gotten drastically better. He looks like a different guy right now, but he played last year quite a bit. And JJ Wheat, who was a key person in us, having the year we had last year. But then we brought in some guys, when you look at the guys we brought in, I think Chase Harris and Peyton Law are 2 guys, in my opinion, they were arguably the best 2 players in NAI basketball last year, won a ton of games. We brought in Adam Olson, who I think is a huge impact guy. He played in Canadian college basketball up in British Columbia. So we're excited about him. He gives us some scoring, some shooting. And then we brought in some other younger guys, like Stephen Williams has been a big surprise from Coastal Alabama. I'm really high on him. I felt like he would be a guy that was going to be a good player in time, but he's accelerated that process with how hard he's worked and how much better that he's gotten. Brian Hawthorne is another guy from Rockhurst at D2 in Kansas. Winning kid, tough kid, can play both guard spots. Hans Jean Luis is another guy that won a bunch of games. Lenore Ryan brings in some experience that way. And I think we got a lot of depth. I think we've got, 7, 8 guys that could all start. And then I think we can play 10 again like we did last year pretty comfortably.
Thank you.
Let's jump over to Adam Miller.
Coach Riley, this was the team last year that led the country in a lot of major statistical categories defensively, efficient with the basketball, limiting the turnovers, not fouling. There's been compliments from some of the other coaches even today and even back to last year, but today again, just about how together your team played. Obviously, you've got some of those guys from that team this year, but integrating some of these impact guys like you were just going through, what's it going to take to build that kind of togetherness, cohesiveness, and team chemistry to play at the level defensively and efficiently that you guys did last year?
Well, I really appreciate the compliments because to me as a coach, it's what you hang your hat on. It's the culture of your program and how together you are. I think that's the first stage of, and probably the most important stage of having a quality team is having those things. We hang our hat on our defense. It's unique how we play. We press you for 40 minutes, and we have a zone that is unique to anything in college basketball. There's nobody that plays our zone. There's different things that go into it. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There has to be a lot of buy-in from your group. And last year we had that buy-in, and it made us one of the best defensive teams in the country. And if we're going to have a year worth having, we're going to have to do the same thing this year. And our guys know that. When in the recruiting process, we talk about that. You want to be able to utilize your talent, scoring the ball and doing all the things that are considered fun in college basketball. Then you got to do it on the defensive end. You got to ratchet up every day because that's how we win. And then we have a culture of we don't beat ourselves. We're not going to go out there and do things we shouldn't be doing and turn the ball over and give opportunity that way to teams in transition. So we have a culture of solid. We have a culture of tough, a culture of discipline. And that's the everyday approach. And again, this group has really bought into that. Are we a finished product right now? No, I don't think anybody is, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And I think, we'll use that non-con portion to obviously be as good as we can, fine tune some things, and then get ready for the gauntlet that is the Sun Belt once we get to that point.
Thank you, Coach Riley. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. Enjoyed it.
First of all, it's good to see y'all. It's great to kind of get right back in the basketball mode. Not sure I miss New Orleans and going down there or not. I do miss the dinner and so forth, but it is good to be able to stay with the team and not have to get away for a day or so. But again, appreciate y'all and a lot of familiar faces up across the top there. So really thankful for that. Thankful for our young men and that I've been entrusted to coach. The opportunity to coach at Southern Miss. It's just been a great fall in terms of we've got a lot of new faces and to kind of the good thing about it for me is you kind of you get back to the basics of coaching. You have to start from the very start. So it's been a lot of fun working with this particular group and look forward to getting the season started.
We'll open up now for questions from our media, and we'll start off with Heath Hinton.
Hey, Jay, on your preseason, you got 5 home games, a lot of road games. It's a 2-part question, really. How much does that play into, rev share and paying for the players you got? And also back into that, how much does the pre-conference schedule really matter when you're a 1B league anyway?
Well, first of all, Heath, good hearing from you. And I was just telling Jack before we started, I want to give you a shout this afternoon. You left a couple of messages and I owe you a phone call. So I'll call you back this afternoon on some other questions that you have and we spend a little more time. Okay. And I hope you're doing well. to answer the question, I got a little bit of sneak peek of Coach Jones at Old Dominion, and I'm not a masochist enough to want to go to Columbia, South Carolina, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Ole Miss, and Biloxi. Gosh, who am I going to Radford? You know, we're going to all kind of places, playing a big time schedule, and you know, but there's some value to playing a high profile schedule. But the rev share blueprint kind of dictates that a little bit. It makes it difficult. You're having to play all these road games, but times have changed in our league, and I'm thankful for our university and support of our president and athletic director. They allow us to do that, and so we can turn that around into our rev share budget. So I'm very thankful for that. But there's, you know, certainly some give and take there, and maybe as the NCAA moves forward with hopefully some reform in that area, and that it can change a little bit for the better, and hopefully we'll have able to get a few more home games. But our non-conference schedule is really, really tough, and it's gonna make a, you know, we're gonna have to grow up fast for sure. And then the second you mentioned about does it matter as much anymore? It does. And you know, we're gonna have some opportunity to play some top 20 opponents. And you know what that means for your program. I know a couple of years ago when we won the league, you know, we opened the season at Vanderbilt and were able to win. And I know what that meant for our fan base and our program. So, you know, it's a tall order, and this day and time to be able to go on the road and, you know, win one of those type of games. Miami is going to be one of our, of course, after we play at Buffalo, we come home. And then we go to Miami to play. It's gonna be a tough road game there, and you know, it does matter. Wins and losses matter, but you know, we also, like I said, have to have some give and take.
Let's go over to David.
Morning, Coach. David Edelstein, Sports Director at WJTV in Jackson and Hattiesburg. Good to see you. Happy New Year, basically.
Yes.
As you enter into a new season, every year in college sports, and you know, the roster changes and things change, who are you expecting might step up this year into expanded roles and really contribute to the team? And just what excites you about, you know, the roster and how they've kind of come into the season?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned a little bit in the opening statement. Generally, the exciting part is that we have so many new faces. We have, you know, we've got 14, we're carrying 18. At the moment, a couple of those guys very well redshirt. Got a couple of guys that are coming off injuries and may dictate a redshirt. But just being able to kind of get back to, you know, without a lot of returning players, been able to really kind of teach basketball from its foundation, from fundamentals and attitude formation, expectation. A lot of guys coming from junior college, you know, organizational structure, discipline, so forth. So that, I love that part of it. I love teaching the game and coaching it, and that part of it's just been great. You know, if we're going to be successful, David, this year, it's going to be by committee. We've got a lot of guys that are capable of playing. We've got some really talented young men, but you know, where we are right now, you know, we're not quite ready to open the season. Thank goodness we have a week and a half left before we have to go to Buffalo to open up the Sun Belt MAC Challenge. And so, you know, I think we've had some guys, particularly that have put up good numbers in scrimmage and in an exhibition game. But we've also been intentional about playing a lot of players and trying to establish chemistry and playing rotations and so forth. And what I would like to see is we're beginning to see a little bit of separation. Of course, you know, we talk about non-negotiables in our program, being a team guy, no matter what we do, but being a team player. Everybody defends and everybody does everything with great effort. And so those three things, everything else we can kind of work around, but those are the three bases of our program. And again, at this point, I would be reaching out there to go with it's this player and that player. Again, I think if we win, it's going to be by committee. But I do like the fact that we have a lot of players that are capable of playing. In the last 2 years, we have been hit really hard by key injuries or key injuries before the season or during the season, and it's made replacing those guys have been very difficult. And this year, I think we will be a little better able to address that situation if that occurs.
We got time for one more. David, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, again. So with the outlook that you just provided, you mentioned also the games early on in the season, the Ole Miss, LSU, Jackson State, who's in the SWAC championship last year, and Grambling, who won it the year before. What is the biggest thing that you want your guys to take away from those high caliber teams that are local like that in the quote unquote preseason that can get them ready for when you're playing the more familiar teams in the Sun Belt?
Well, you're making a great example, and the Sun Belt I think is the most. It doesn't get the national respect that it deserves. It's a great league, and it has just outstanding coaches, outstanding players, and it just doesn't get it. And I think it's beginning to, but it doesn't. It doesn't get the national respect it deserves. I certainly. Am a big believer that it's at least a 2-bid league, and hopefully we'll get there at some point, maybe this year. But you have to kind of keep things in perspective. And when you're playing the type of schedule that we play, first of all, we embrace it. We embrace that. We embrace it. Southern Miss has I grew up a Southern Miss fan. That's why I'm so blessed to be here. And has an incredible athletic tradition that we're very proud of. And our president talks about punching above our weight. And I think Southern Miss has always done that. And if you go back in the history of Southern Miss, so, there's a crazy part of our fan base that they expect our football team. And, they open with Mississippi State, and there's people mad with Coach Huff when we didn't beat them, and of course we know the reality of where things are financially and so forth with resources, but our fan base expects us to be able to compete in those games and win some of them. And but we have to keep things in perspective. It is going to be tough. Control what we can control and learn from those games. Use it to harden us up and make us better prepared for our conference games. And but we have to kind of keep that as our end goal. The purpose of the non-conference schedule is prepare you for the conference schedule, and of course the non-conference and conference schedule to really prepare you for the conference tournament, which is really the way in a 1-bid league is the way that we have to prepare. And because everything should be focused on every practice, every weightlifting session, conditioning, a game that you play. Everything should be focused on getting our team ready to play the best that we can possibly play when we get down to Pensacola in late February and early March.
Thank you, Coach Ladner. Appreciate your time today.
You're welcome, Dad. Thank you.
Hey, just thankful for the opportunity to be here, talking with you guys. Super excited about the year. We got 12 new players, so I'm still learning middle names because we like to joke around here. We like to call them by their middle name when they least expect it. So still learning middle names, but I'm excited. It's a great day to be a Bobcat. They have unbelievable, crazy energy in San Marcos. So I'm just blessed to be a leader of men in these times that are in this country that we live in right now. So I take nothing for granted. We have 3 returners that I think are the right 3 that are here, and we understand the landscape of college basketball and the way it's headed. So we want to pour into these guys and let them know that we care about them, and we want winning to be a byproduct of our daily habits. So, we walk in the door with culture first, and it will be no different this year.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Michael Adams.
Hey, Coach. Michael Adams with the Austin Sports Journal.
Hey, Michael.
So I noticed you do have a very new roster. Like you said, 3 new starters, pretty young team. But talk about kind of this landscape of college basketball and how the transfer portal now kind of makes it to where you can get some guys and come in and be successful right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think we saw that last year with Tylen Pope. You know, he's a guy that didn't have the kind of success, individual success that he thought he would have at his first stop, which was Tulane, or his second stop, which was Nevada. But on his last stop and his final stop, he showed that he's one of the better players across the country. So, you know, the transfer portal, they give it and they take it away. We lost a really good player, Brandon Love. We basically made a trade to Nevada. He left here and he went to Nevada, and we got Talon Pope from Nevada. And you know, it can go a lot of different ways, but I think if we had to do it again, we would do the same thing. So you know, it provides an opportunity for these young men to find a fit that works best for them, and then it puts a little bit more pressure on us to you know, develop and figure out ways how to maintain relationships through you know, retention and keeping those guys here. We're going to reap we're going to reap the fruits of our labor.
Let's go over to Caleb.
Hi, Coach. I'm Caleb with the Austin American Statesman.
Hey, Caleb.
So you got, you know, transfers obviously, but you also have two of your highest rated recruits in your history, according to 24/7, DJ Hall and Robert Fields as freshmen. What do you expect them to bring to the table, and do you expect them to contribute in their freshman year?
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited about those two young guys. You know, there's two guys in which we thought could when we recruited them, they could play right away. You know, we thought that they had the size and the IQ in the field to be impactful. These guys are hard workers. They come from great families, so we think that they're great fits. You know, DJ is a talented kid, you know, and he's done a lot of winning. You know, he went 40-0 in the state of Texas, the highest classification, which is not very easy to do. And Robert, you know, I think we recruited Robert because he was one of the only players that we identified throughout the recruiting process that did not lose a basketball game in the academy. So these guys are made of the right stuff. They're winners. So we do expect for both of them to play right away. We really do.
Let's go over to Billy Mangum.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Bill.
Another year in the Sun Belt. Good to see your face. Just curious, you know, looking through your roster, really, really guard heavy. Just talk a little bit about that process and how you feel like, you know, that kind of recipe really lends itself beneficial when it comes to Sun Belt play.
Man, I do think that one of the benefits of our team right now, one of the strengths is the fact that we have depth. And that's something that we haven't had in a while. So I think it'll pay dividends, especially in a league like this, you know, where it's physical and you know, we've had our share of injuries. I don't know where the wood is to knock on. Maybe it's here. But we want to stay healthy, but we also need the depth. We need healthy competition in practice, and we also need guys that can come in and be impactful in the game. So we are guard heavy. It was by design to get some better guards. We felt like we were losing some guards that had really laid the foundation for our program over the last few years. But I like where we're at right now. I love our talent level and I love our depth.
Let's go back to Caleb.
Coach, obviously there was the news that Texas State accepted the invite to join the Pac-12 over the summer. What do you think is the potential impact on the program? Have you seen anything?
Yeah, you know, it's exciting times in San Marcos. It really is, to be the lone representative of the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 name still reigns supreme in this area. You know, so you know, to be the lone representative in a state such as this, you know, it's been a lot of you know, it's been the topic of a lot of discussions. No matter whether or not I'm, you know, pumping gas at the gas station or trying to run through the airport, you know, a lot of people are excited about, you know, what's to come. So, you know, and I think the credit has to go to Dr. Danforth and also Don Coryell for their vision and where they see the university trending and heading. So, you know, but right now our focus is on the Sun Belt. You know, this is an exciting time. There's you know, there's no returning all conference player in this league. So the league is up for grabs, in which we feel like if we can do what it is that we need to do night in and night out, you know, we could really make some noise this year.
We got time for one more from Michael Adams.
Yeah, Coach, you had two players named to the preseason All Sun Belt team. Texas State has had most recently a lot of success in the Sun Belt. Can you talk about like the level of competition that you play in this conference and kind of what your goals are going into your final season in the Sun Belt?
Yeah, for us, it's about our identity. Whether or not it's, I mean, Billy has been interviewing me for a couple of years now, and I don't think our team has looked any different. We want to guard, man. We embrace physicality. We love to compete. And we're gonna play our way. And for both Mark Drone and for Caden Gums to be selected, it just shows that the coaches, as well as the everybody that's voting across, just appreciate the brand of basketball that these guys play night in and night out. For us, we want to come in and maintain our identity, and that's a competitive team that's gonna try to do our best to execute, try to understand that the first play on offense is getting a stop on defense, and there's nights where we come up short of that and things of that nature. But even when we're at our lowest point, we're not going to give up, and that's what I expect out of this season for our guys, just to keep fighting and keep competing.
Thank you, Coach Johnson. Appreciate your time today.
Indeed. Thank you, guys. Good to see y'all.
Yeah, we've been going since June. Have a great group of guys. Obviously, we took a pretty big hit with the guys we lost. We're very, very good players. But I've not left not one day from Trojan Arena in a bad mood. These guys are fun to coach. They're very, very cohesive. I think we definitely have made some strides over the last couple of months. I think it's a basketball team that's going to continue to get better. We're very, very skilled. We'll look a little bit different from last year, but I think we definitely can shoot the three, and we got some guys that can really pass the basketball and starting to get better defensively. So if we can get our defense up to the level where it's been the past couple of years, then I feel really good about where we're headed.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Coach. Thomas Dowd was the guy that really came on toward the end of the year last year. Obviously, probably counting on him a lot more this year. Just talk about his development, going into this season.
Yeah, Thomas is one of those players that you don't get to coach very often. He's a one of a kind, the way he works every day. He's accountable. He's a leader. He works his butt off. One of the hardest workers I've ever coached. I've been doing this since 1998. Definitely, he's in that Mount Rushmore of hardest working guys I've ever coached. He wants to be great. He's competitive. He's tough. He's a great teammate. If there was ever a guy that was deserving of being first team preseason all conference, I mean, it's that guy right there. And so any good thing that comes his way, he deserves it because of the way he works. He's a guy that's going to be successful long after the ball stops bouncing, and I would think anybody would want to hire a guy like him.
Your schedule, I know everybody has their challenges making a schedule, but you've got one stretch where you're away from home for a really long time. Just talk about the challenge of that and how you hope that'll prepare you for a conference when it comes up.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge for the Sun Belt. I think we're kind of in that tier where, there's a lot of tier 2, tier 3 teams in terms of the NCAA and the net rankings, I guess, is what I'm referring to. And so those teams, it's a little bit tougher for them to make schedules because the quad 1 teams, they either want to play quad 1 or quad 4. The quad 4 teams are looking to play other quad 4 teams, and like nobody wants to play the quad 2 and 3 teams, which is kind of where most of the Sun Belt lands. And so it was a challenge for us. We had to agree to go on the road on quite a few games just to make out a schedule. We were fortunate that they were able to get 4 California games all in one road trip. I mean, that's gonna pretty much drain our our travel budget in one trip, but we're looking forward to it. It'll be a great time for our guys to grow closer as a group and learn a lot of things about the group. And I'm sure there'll be adversity along the way. Anytime you're on the road that long, it's not going to be peaches and cream. So then we go to Fort Myers and we play a tournament there. So we're going to be gone, I don't know, 10 to 14 straight days, I believe. And so one of the longest road trips that I've ever been a part of. But I'll be with a great group of guys, and I think we'll grow, and our team chemistry will only get better through that experience.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Billy Mangum.
Hey, Coach. Two-part kind of question here. You found a lot of success in the league the last couple years. Four plus seasons with 20+ wins. You found a lot of success really kind of getting the formula together. And then you add someone new to your coaching staff. So just kind of curious, what that piece brings in and what you've kind of found recruiting and bringing in newcomers. What's kind of the recipe to the success that you found over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I would say, my staff's been phenomenal. We're huge in player development. I mean, I think that's the foundation of everything. We took a big hit losing Coach Young and Coach Worley, two great coaches who have done a great job for us. But I think we hit home runs with the two guys that we brought in. Coach Scott Campbell is Cooper and Kobe Campbell's dad. He's been a head high school coach for 15, 20 years. It's been super, super successful. His brother's the head women's coach at TCU, and you can see the job that he's done there. So it's a guy that really, really knows the game. He sees the game and brings so many great ideas. So it's nice to have influx of new ideas and new ways of looking at the game. And then Coach Caleb Canales, I mean, he's called timeouts in NBA game as a head coach. And so, anytime you can get a guy that's coached on 5 different NBA teams and actually called his own timeout in an NBA game, it tells you the level of coach that he is. And so he brings a ton of experience. The NBA, typically they're a step or two ahead in terms of the way the game is played. Compared to college basketball. And so, he's got a lot of great ideas as well. But I think, the biggest thing that those two guys bring is they love being in the gym. They've helped our player development. I think we've gotten even better with that from June to where we are right now. And I think our guys are going to continue to get better because our staff takes it so serious. So those guys have been huge additions. And then the guys that we have, I mean, Coach Kelvin, Coach Gilbert, Coach Cordero, they've done a phenomenal job as well developing our guys. And then we have a slew of GAs that are, a lot of them are volunteer GAs and they work their butt off. And, it's almost like having extra coaches out there on the floor. These guys want to be coaches at the college level, and they just have helped us out tremendously.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Coach Cross, Billy just mentioned this, but you guys are the only program in the Sun Belt to win 20 or more games each of the last 4 years. This year you've got some guys that are holdovers and some continuity with guys who played on that championship team last year. What's sort of your message and maybe direction from you to those returning guys with the influx of the new guys and younger guys to keep this program moving forward and keeping it at a championship caliber pedigree?
I mean, it's the same message. We just have to get better every single day. That's where our mindset has to be. I mean, when you look at it on paper, obviously those guys that we lost were all marquee players. They were, high level talented guys. I mean, that's why they are where they are right now. And they're, 3 of them are making a whole lot of money. And so, these guys have been in the program, the returners, they know what to expect. They know the system. They've definitely all gotten better because of the way they work. For a team, our work ethic is off the charts, one of the best I've been around. These guys are very, very serious about basketball. They're serious about getting better, and it's fun to coach when you have a group of guys like that. And so, like I said earlier, I do believe this team's going to continue to build and get better. I think we'll be playing our best basketball come late February or early March, and should be a fun team to watch them grow and get better.
Thank you, Coach Cross. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.